What?
Today on my podcast, I have
Oh, I'm sorry. The CEO of Wrestling Evolution, Tim Wilcox.
so Tim. Ever heard your perform piece of wrestling?
Yes.
All right. What sparked your interest in the professional wrestling industry?
Say again, sorry.
What sparked your interest in the
What sparked my interest? Well, it has to go all the way back to the 1980s. Mid-Atlantic days, NWA Mid-Atlantic, Jim Crockett Promotions. I would wake up every Saturday morning, watch cartoons, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, it would come on Channel 3, BTV.
My dad. Do you remember the art story from King of Crockett's and
Yes.
his one story was he always says that anytime we're in a wrestling house, no matter if they're new, he went to the bar with Ric Flair, all the WCW wrestlers. Ric Flair walks in around for everybody. And my dad's like, well, this is cool stuff because I'm under age. Ric Flair's doing it for drinks.
Yeah.
With dating one of the WCW promoter's daughters. So I was like, that's one way to get in the business. Shortcut to get involved, but yeah. He had like Stage There, he had Road Warrior, Holy Wow crew, Four Horsemen, and everybody. Like him telling me the stories, and I just need to be shit. And I was like, yeah, you can be on it. I mean, your name is technically Paul Michigan. I was like, you did name me Trevor. Because like, so you technically got rights to the show without my 80% because you're named the kid that runs the show. Who were your wrestling mentors growing up?
As far as like who trained me,
It's like sparked your interest.
oh well, I was a Sting fan. Obviously, the Dragon Steamboat, Macho Man, and as my wrestling career, when I started it, I started transitioning to a heel. I became, I started studying playing.
Man with the many talents. How did you get your start in wrestling?
You got to go all the way back to about 2001, 2002 time. My brother, he knew someone that was a wrestler. His name was Rick Foley. He introduced me to my original training. Ironically, the ring I trained in was the ring that I actually watched TV on the skid. It was a Mid-Atlantic ring that they used in Charlotte that they did the TV tapings with.
What was your first wrestling match?
The first wrestling match was a squash. So, going through several months of training, they told me before the show, they said, bring something like paint, black shirt, and a mask, and some black gloves. And so I went there and basically just got my ass handed for about 5 minutes.
Sounds like a bunch of first matches I've heard from a lot of people. They were either long rumbles or making like their talents look better.
Yep.
Just to make themselves known. I'm like you get beat up by John Skyler in your first match. I'm not gonna love talking about it. First interaction. Just walking out of the locker room and I said, hey, where you from? He's like, oh, I used to be in the cops. I was like, which one? He was like, live and in person. And like afterwards, I was like, it's John Scott. Okay.
Sounds like Scott.
CEO.
My goals, actually, I set one goal, and I create another goal once I achieve that. So, obviously, it's to grow the company, make it bigger. Eventually, I would love to make it a household name. And I'm not just talking locally. I'm talking all around the country. So I want to take this company from absolutely nothing to something.
Yeah. Which also, guys, high fans in Italy and the UK.
Catch us on YouTube.
Which I will be tagging it on YouTube and on Instagram. So Can you get into depth like what wrestling got started, how business landscape?
Wrestling evolution as a whole. Well, um, I back in early 2023, a shoot job, as we like to call it, they kind of cut back on overtime. So then, at one point, I had been a promoter before. I tried my hand at it, and it failed.
Yeah.
Right, and I had said that I would never run shows again. And so then just something sparked, and I was like, this thought of Mark Twain's quote, "Write what you know about," just kept coming in my head. And so at a point I started dabbling. As for the name, it came up with Wrestling Evolution, and then I shot out to a guy who makes gear for, makes a lot of designs, a lot of stuff for wrestlers, Martin DeGrucci, and reached out to him and told him kind of what we were wanting to do, and he ended up coming up with the logo, what you see here and here. And then from there, I started looking for venues, and then started booking the talent. And then from there, it's eventually it's grown little by little. You know, in Carolinas, I consider us a freight train.
Can you describe your wrestling persona over here?
Back when I was wrestling, when I originally started out, mind you, not under the name of squash matches, I came in. My character was Johnny Buffett. So I had long hair, but I was a Jimmy Buffett fan. So that was kind of the inspiration behind that. And we would play, I would come up to Margaritaville live, a live version of it. Hand out Hawaiian Lays to get, for the cheap pops, basically. Get over with the fans. And then eventually they decided they wanted to turn it on. So I really wanted to be a face. It was virtually a face. Steamboat was a face virtually his entire career. As I kind of like, right? So I came with this heel persona, toying with whether I was going to do it or not. And then there was a guy by the name of Hotshot Shane Austin. He said, "Here's the other thing that we have. There's a show, British show called Keeping Up with Appearances or Keeping Up the Appearances or something like that. There's a lady that answers the phone. When she answers the phone, her last name is Bucket. But when she answers the phone, to sound all proper and better, she would say Bouquet Residence. So they said, what we want to do is you say that you have searched your family history, you found royal lineage, and I want you to be served London buffet. And after that, that's what took off.
Very miserable.
Jeez.
People, one guy, the episode before this, he said he got trained by the Hawk Twos,
Mm-hmm.
the Hawk Two brothers, the Wild Samoans.
Yes.
Over in Puerto Rico, because he's from Puerto Rico and everything. And he was like telling me that Rocky Johnson would remember his wife, but not him. And I was like, that's hilarious because like you're friends with like the Samoan dynasty. He knows Rikishi and maybe The Rock, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's also like a whole bunch of other wrestling hall of fame and everything. So
the only one thing, and it's written for this guy in South Carolina named Fuzzy Box. There, we built it up aesthetically, right? And so it was me, and I want to say it was Bruiser Graham. We wrestled Fuzzy. He brought in the Barbarian. So we wrestled the Barbarian. So it was a tag match. It was me and Bruiser versus Fuzzy and Barbarian. And so obviously they ended up going over because the name ended up going over. I remember him chopping me in the building. I remember him having me in the corner, and he comes down coming with an overhead chop. It was just like, oh my gosh, the overhands could feel worse than the side. And he hit me and popped and go to the building. And it popped, but I didn't feel it. At that point, it was a pause, and then it was like, shit, that's what you said. So then I sold it. So even years later, fast forward, 8 years later, I see Barbarian at Independent Show. And I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, do you remember me? And he goes, oh, yeah. It was me and Fuzzy versus you and Bruiser. He goes, good match. Really good match. So it always stood out to me that he remembered me, you know.
Yeah. My dad, he met Hezekiah Koloff because he used to wrestle in the Carolinas.
Yep.
So his son went to school with my dad. My dad never wanted to be didn't want to be associated with his son because of the Russian accent.
Yeah.
Because he got picked on his son. So Koloff would go out and buy my dad lunch and everything. I was like, oh, Ray just don't look at this Ray. You have a large story short. Remember everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like he talks about him trying to do his English version, talking and everything at the restaurant. I'm like, this is a good thing you could be doing. It's not like bring on like other stories past all the matchups and all the
Exactly.
How do you handle the emotional and mental aspects of wrestling? That's my one question I love asking.
Oh, the emotional and mental aspects. Oh my gosh, it is not easy. I think in the year and a half, 2 years that we've been in business now, I have now developed more grade than ever. But with the emotional and mental aspects, it's when you're promoting, you don't know how many people are going to walk through that door. You know, I hope and pray that you're just going to break even, and knock on wood, we have either broke even or made money every single show, which a lot of independent promotions can do. So thanks to all the fans that come out and support us. I try to run the guys, the wrestlers, everybody on the roster understands that I try to run an environment. It's hard to do. Pretty much everybody has their check when they come to the door. They know that I'm bullshit because I can replace them easily. I mean, but you know, as far as that, there's sleepless nights, but there's not a day that goes by that I'm not trying to work on this thing.
Can you describe the feeling of winning your first championship?
The first championship was actually a cruiserweight title. I won it right around Christmas time. It was in a fatal four-way match, I believe. Remember, we did it was in Kings Mountain for an organization that's still actually running to this day called New Millennium. And I remember we did a parade, Christmas parade in Kings Mountain that day, and one guy's like, hey, we're going to be there tonight. I said, yeah, I've already traveled all the way down here. And he was like, well, make sure you're there. That's all I said. And they didn't really tell me I was going over to the time I went out. You know, that was one of several that seems to. That one stands out.
If you have a tattoo, which one is your favorite?
Tattoo, which one is my favorite? Probably my Deadpool. Deadpool, the back calf back there. You Deadpool.
Yes. So, right, guys, we're going to start this Trev Shock segment. If you're like in business meetings or if you're watching Stone Cold's podcast, you have that certain amount of time you have those questions. All right, cameraman, I need you to do the best you can to make sure we hit 50. If we pass 50, let us know. He has 50 seconds to answer 6 questions.
6 questions, 50 seconds.
In my opinion, the easiest questions, the most fun questions.
All right, cool.
All right. Pre-show snack.
Pre-show snack. I hardly eat.
Pre-show jam.
Pre-show what?
Jam.
Jam. Actually, For the Glory by I can't even remember the name of the group, but yeah.
Favorite wrestler growing up.
Favorite wrestler growing up, Sting.
Favorite sports team.
Favorite sports team. Sadly, the Carolina Panthers.
Favorite color.
Favorite color would be blue.
Type of music.
Type of music. I'm more of like a classic rock person.
Did he beat the time?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all that matters. I've had one guy who beat it by 25 seconds.
Shoot.
And I was like, I didn't even give you the script, and I was impressed. But I was like, I get it. It's not my last 2 seasons I did where made you think about back to your childhood. You got to think about your favorite Looney Tunes character.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I had one person that did not watch the Looney Tunes,
Really?
but she knew who Tom and Jerry was. So I was like, okay, favorite Looney Tunes character.
You know Tom and Jerry, but don't know the Liberty.
He's like, Tom and Jerry. And I was like, same family, I'll give it to you that one. But not the right one. So then the video audio did not work. So we had to reshoot it a week later. And she remembered me saying, like, Bugs Bunny. So she's like, Bugs Bunny. And I was like, okay.
Wile E. Coyote.
So that's
So much RT.
what are your biggest challenges of being a CEO of Wrestling Evolution outside of the ring?
Outside of the ring is promoting on a daily basis. Whether it's just it's not just an online thing.
Yeah.
It's you got to get out there. People have talent on the roster. It's like, hey man, I think we peaked. We're gonna get any more in the building at the campground where we currently run right now. And I said, dude, 99% of the people who don't know we exist. So you got to get the word out one way or the other.
How do you feel about the business side of wrestling and the role of promotions and shaping storylines?
Oh, shaping storylines is like critical to wrestling evolution. I think it gets the fans invested in your product. When I came through the wrestling business, we rarely ever ran any storylines. Pretty much just about anywhere I went, it was, hey, you and you, they take everyone down, and then it would be like, you and you're gonna wrestle. You and you are in the tag team. You and you are this, and I hate it. So wrestling evolution again, I was like, dude, I want story people to get absorbed, invested in what we're doing. Let's build the heels. Let's build the villains. Let's build the faces. Let's build the good guys, and get them cheering for who they want to cheer for, boo for who they want to boo for, and keep them coming back for a reason. And so far, it has.
If you could wrestle any legendary wrestler from the past, who would it be and why?
I would actually, to be honest, but seeing I'm a heel, I would prefer probably then wrestling Sting. But, I'll face it, I would like to go toe to toe with Flair.
You could attend any wrestling setting with any wrestler. Who would you?
Jesus.
Like after Triple H, just with the mindset of the region.
Like,
Shawn Michaels, and I was like, I get Shawn, but it's like same thing with Triple H. It's the same, basically now the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, even like today's wrestling is just, I still don't feel like it has the effect it was all that got me when I was younger. So, it would be cool to sit with like Bernie Gagne or Jim Crockett, and Dusty Rhodes, and sit down with them and have a discussion because Dusty had a huge mind for the business, So, and he came up with a lot of stuff that's still used today, like the war games, things of that nature. So, those were all Dusty's ideas. So, I would love to have the opportunity.
If you could have a wrestling legend as your mentor, who would you choose?
Again, I would probably say Dusty. Because Dusty is, again, mind for the business and very smart. They used him in NXT to help those guys facilitate. I mean, that Seth Rollins, FTR were under his wing, So, but I think that was somebody I would love to just learn from.
What's your opinion on wrestling crossover events with and entertainment industries?
Like how, for example,
like them bringing it on to like local TVs, bringing in like sports events that are coming up, trying to promote their sports events at that arena.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like if Wrestling Evolution was to run after Charlotte Hornets?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would probably take, even though it takes forever to set the ring up, mind you, whatever. But still, if that option was on there, I would probably love to do something like that because then you have potentially 20,000 fans seeing your product for the first time and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, these guys are something.
Yeah.
I want to come back." It's free advertising for me.
What advice would you give to aspiring wrestlers?
Inspiring wrestler, you have to be dedicated. You either want to be a wrestler or you want to pretend to be a wrestler. There, we have a school, Wrestling Evolution Training Center. We've got a few guys that are here just about every single session. And then we've got a few guys that are hit and miss. And I understand people have real life, have a job, etc.
Yeah.
But I've read like the Santino brothers. Recently, they trained out in California. They've got a great school out in California. There was a trainee that just graduated recently, and that dude drove 3 to 4 hours one way to train every time. Now, you're in California. The price of gas is a lot higher than it is in North Carolina, but you traveling 3 to 4 hours one way, and he still was working a job because he wanted it. So you have to want it.
Can you talk about a significant rivalry you had that helped you grow as a wrestler?
Probably, I've got actually, I could probably say two. There was me and Loaded Guns Ken Magnum and High Velocity Wrestling back in the day up in Hendersonville. I was the face at the time. That's Johnny Buffett. We was the heels, the Loaded Guns. We feuded for a while over the heavyweight title. Actually, that year for High Velocity, won the match of the year, Blood, Guts, and Glory. Actually, I saw kind of got that inspiration behind how to do that match, and then the other one would be Salvation. He's no longer wrestling anymore, but he and I had probably about a 4 or 5 month kind of. Because they ended up, when I say they put this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy together, they ended up putting us and they saw we had some chemistry. So we just kind of we'd wrestle 6-man tags, we'd wrestle tag matches, and we'd wrestle 1-on-1, and then eventually, something. When we got out there and we got to the ring, we found some magic.
What was it like working with a particular wrestler that you really clicked with in the ring?
Well, again, it would probably the one person that I can mention that was probably one of the best opponents I've ever had was a guy by the name of Neil Nitro. That dude was a ring general. He legit could go over. We might do a 20-minute match, and he might put it. We might sit there and try to put it all together, but he could remember every single spot. That would be me. It's an opening, it's a few hopes, it's a finish. That's it. After that, I'm like,
Can you describe your training process and what was the most challenging part of learning to wrestle?
the challenging part of course, it's again, it's an motivation factor. You gotta want it. You gotta take every opportunity to get it. So even after I finished the place that I originally started, and then I moved on to like New Millennium, I would show up to the show early because to get the ring time every time before the show, I was training for 2 hours before the show. I was there. Putting in the work just to get better.
What hobbies do you enjoy outside of the ring?
What hobbies do I enjoy outside of the ring? I don't really have a lot of hobbies. I guess, but it's not really. I can't consider it a hobby, but it's being a dad. I love my kid to death. Watching him, he's actually training to wrestle some here at the training center. He don't get to do a lot because he's still young. But getting to watch him play basketball, getting to watch him play soccer, and obviously getting to watch him grow up and see the love of wrestling he has through me, basically.
Yeah. What was your favorite gear that you wear in the ring?
Favorite gear that I wore? Actually, I was kind of like ashamed of how I looked because I wrestled, but I didn't get in the gym like I should. You know what I'm saying? So I usually wore singlets, and then I would have singlets made, and then I kind of took some inspiration and from AJ Styles back in the day with the hooded vest and everything
Back
else.
when he was doing his little heel.
Well, when he was in the TNA gig and he had the hooded vest and he'd throw his hands up on the hood, but I had my vest would
Oh,
match
that's
whatever,
not the-
whatever.
The jacket when he was with
Yep.
as an ace.
Yeah, well, it had no sleeves. I guess.
And then where can they find Wrestling Evolution on social media?
Wrestling Evolution. You can find Wrestling Evolution on Facebook. Wrestling Evolution LLC. You can find us on Instagram. I think it's at wrestling.evolution23. You can find us on TikTok if you search Wrestling Evolution 23, if I'm not mistaken. What else are we on? Oh, also YouTube. You can find us at Wrestling Evolution 23, but also search for Wrestling Evolution Aggression.
Okay. Well, thanks, Tim, for being on the podcast. And guys, just a reminder, I do this every episode at the end. We're doing a t-shirt contest. I have 5 designs made by a professional company, wrestlers or promoters that want to enter in this contest. We have a separate for the wrestlers and promoters. And then we have one just for the fans, but they're both winning the same thing. I wanted it to be fair. A fan got paid, oh, it's a wrestler that's going to win by the seats. Yeah. Wanted to play this fair, okay? And thanks to the sponsor, which one is Wrestling Evolution. And I will make sure to be posting all the shows coming up after this episode comes out.
Yep.
Which is the day before the show, actually.
Actually, yes, because January 18th, the February one.
Yes.
So it'll be coming on before the February one. So February 15th, we will be at the Cross Country Campgrounds in Denver, North Carolina. That's 6254 Highway 150 East. Bell time is at 7 p.m. Doors open at 6.
And guys, I will have t-shirts as long as Tim's all right with it.
Yep.
And 8x10s. So
Check them out.
make sure you guys follow, subscribe, you know the drill. And then thanks Vaughn Williams for the cool intro video theme song, which is Thunder and Lightning. All right.